Hello, everyone, and welcome to the news for May 25th. I am joined by my good friend Godfoot, and he is here to help me deliver the news. Godfoot, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty all right. Had a bit of a weird morning, but I'm all right otherwise. And we're going to just jump
Good.
right on in. So, the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the fact that those rumors we talked about last week are pretty much all but confirmed. I'm referring to the ones about EA wanting to be bought out and is looking to be bought out and or merged with. Godfoot, are you surprised at all that EA is wanting to be bought out?
No. In light of their recent failures, no, not at all. I mean, it seems like they realize they need to buy out to keep any form of cash. So they're looking to Apple apparently, and I don't know how I feel about that. Apple isn't exactly a gaming company.
No, Apple's not. And I think Apple's a very niche company. If you look at like their Apple TV Plus, there's a bunch of shows on there that failed miserably that were like big budget, big actors that would have done great on any other platform. Um, and they like their exclusives. I mean, they even had to fought and lost a lawsuit for their proprietary cable plugs because the EU was like, no, this is ridiculous. They're horrible. They don't work. Blah blah blah. And Apple fought tooth and nail to keep their plugs because they want to make money off their exclusivity. I don't know if it's the right way to go. Now, it does sound like there's Disney and Amazon also looking to buy EA. And Amazon has had some pretty awful track records lately with games. Look at New World. There was also another game I don't remember the name of that they published a while back that they burned all down to the ground because it wasn't done well. And I think the fact that Amazon essentially has infinite money and New World was their flagship game that they really cared about for their public image. The fact that it failed and bombed so miserably really tells me that they're not capable or equipped to run video games. So unfortunately, in my opinion, even though it's messed up and weird, I think Disney is the only one that's capable because if you remember Godfoot, when they had the Battlefront loot boxes,
Mm-hmm.
it was Disney that stepped in and was like, "Hey, stop that," because at
Oh,
that
that's
point,
right.
yeah, because their PR was taking a hit way more than their
Mm-hmm.
money, and Disney always has this habit of choosing PR versus money because
Mm-hmm.
to them PR is irreplaceable, and they're very smart in that regard. Because if someone has a really bad memory of Disney or a bad thing associated with it, it pretty much affects their income. They won't go to Disney World, they won't buy Disney products, they won't support Disney products. And honestly, like out of all three of these, I choose Disney. Who would you
Yeah.
pick?
Oh yeah, Disney's definitely my top choice from these three as well. It's just the one that makes the most sense and has the most potential to actually turn EA around.
And now don't get me wrong, that's not saying that Disney needs more properties because Disney is already like one of the biggest corporations in the
True.
United States. They own way more than you think they do, even down to things like tool companies that make like wrenches and stuff. They own
Mm-hmm.
almost all of the competitors of each other. It's really crazy the amount of stuff Disney owns, and I don't know if they actually should buy EA, but if it has to come down to between Apple, Amazon, and Disney, I'm 100% in Disney's court just because, hey, they're the only ones that have shown that they have any level of competency when it comes to making video games. Next up, we've got Take-Two and Zynga. I believe you say Zynga. They've finally had their deal approved. It's been all done, said and done. They've merged. For those of you that don't know, Take-Two has Grand Theft Auto and owns the NBA 2K, WWE, BioShock, Borderlands, and Civilization games. Zynga made Farmville and Words with Friends, but they have a bunch of different mobile titles, including Golf Rival and the CSR Racing series and such. But these two big greedy companies have merged together. Godfoot has some very strong opinions on the way that Grand Theft Auto 5 has gone and how greedy that entire model is. I can only assume that these two companies merging together, including the fact that Zynga makes casino games, is going to result in more greediness. Godfoot, what do you think?
So, I mean, the merger was for 12.7 billion, which still a huge amount of money. Um, However, it gets complicated because I don't know if Zynga's gonna have very much to play in the new Grand Theft Auto, if there's gonna be one, which there probably will be. I don't know if they're gonna be able to influence anything. I already know that Take Two is starting to drop the ball a lot when it comes to that IP. As well as, we all know NBA and whatnot. It's all the same games. WWE is actually okay.
Mhm.
BioShock was good. Borderlands 3 was all right. Civilization obviously is one of my favorite series, so that's great. But I don't know. To me, this is still it can go either way if this is a good deal or not.
So does Take-Two own 2K Games, who owns Borderlands?
Yeah.
It's wild that there's that many like buffers in between them owning it. So it's just I don't know. I'm glad that there is buffers that 2K owns Gearbox, which does their own thing and all that. Just because a lot of these big major companies do make things like casino games, and it does start to bleed over in other games. And I think having that many buffers is good, and there's really no issue with it. We'll just have to wait and see, I think, what they do with these games and what happens with these giant mergers, because it could go either way. They could just continue to let everybody take the reins and do what they want to do, or they could just be like, hey, I want to make a mobile NFT game. Next up, we've got the fact that the Activision and employee Blizzards are joining/forming a union, which is a long time coming and honestly something that most of the video game industry needs to do. Now, the video game industry, I've worked in it for over 8 years now with Joe, and now on my own and everything. I've worked with management companies. I've worked at developer studios. I've been there. And I can tell you straight up that this industry is absolutely horribly abusive to its employees. They burn them out like they're just basically tools to be used. They leverage and threaten them in awful ways, such as you have to work 190 hours this month or you won't have a job, even though it's illegal. They'll do things like, oh, you should come in on your day off. If you don't, there's better dedicated people that we can find that we will have support us. And they're all contract worked. It's awful what they go through. And with the Activision Blizzard lawsuits, God, I'm glad. I'm glad that they're starting to form unions, because the amount of abuse that goes on in general is just absolutely nutty. What do you think, Godfoot?
Yeah, the with all of the egregious acts that employees of Activision Blizzard have done to other fellow employees, uh, I'm surprised this didn't happen earlier, but I'm really happy that it is happening. And a union should be, like you said, for every video game company to make sure stuff like this doesn't continue to happen behind closed doors.
Absolutely. And they are joining the Communication Workers of America. It's worth mentioning that this is specifically Raven Software and their first 28 quality assurance testers. So it's just a small step out of like 1,000 employees or more that Activision Blizzard has. But the fact that it was voted to be done and it's happening really means that the rest of the company can start following suit, because once you get that first group of people that unionize successfully inside a company, everybody else pretty much just follows suit and goes, okay, let's do it, because they see the rights that they're getting, they see the effects they're having, and so on and so forth. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens, whether or not Activision Blizzard will just straight fire those 28 people somehow, or they'll find a way to let them go for some reason or another. Maybe they just weirdly downsize that entire department and all of them disappear. We'll just have to see, and we'll have to see what the union does for it. So this is all positive. Now we're going to talk about Godfoot's favorite game, Battlefield 2042. Godfoot, tell me how much you love Battlefield 2042.
It is one of the single best first-person shooters to ever release. No, you already know my stance on this. I mean, and can I just say, okay, describing the 128 player game mode of Breakthrough, like one of the main selling points originally what the game was for, describing it as chaotic and using that as justification to get rid of it, is just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. They're getting rid of one of the things that kept people wanting to play the game initially. And now they're just getting rid of it. They're killing their own game.
To be fair, there was a lot of balancing issues with it, because remember, there's a lot of maps where they decided to put the breakthrough points like inside doors and inside buildings and shit.
Obviously, those
maps
really,
are completely garbage, with fucking 64 people on both sides just spawn camping each other. The other issue is that there's not enough people playing. The Conquest 128 servers are barely full. Yeah, nobody really plays Breakthrough. They play Conquest. And there's a couple of full 128 player Conquest servers, but for the most part, Breakthrough was dead. And there were people trying to play like 128 Breakthroughs, but they weren't even finding full servers, especially on PC. Good luck. And so I don't know if this is less about chaos and like stuff like that. But I think it's more, number one, they didn't want to do the balancing because they were like, whoops, this doesn't work. Our map design's garbage on some maps. And number two, there were so few people playing it, just made them look bad.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's they can keep like just trying to do this for their own game. Everyone knows it's already a dead game. I mean,
Yep.
people just don't want to play it when there's so many other better options to potentially play. Like they destroyed their first impressions for quite a while.
Yep.
So everyone just doesn't care anymore, which I say is well deserved.
Yeah, EA has said that they're basically going to rethink the development process of all their Battlefield games. But I mean, we talked about this before. The biggest issue was this game came out 2 years early. It was forced out the door, and you can tell there's a very good framework there. It's just that the developers didn't get the time they needed to do it. It was just shoved out as a bare bones awful experience. And I feel so bad for the people that worked on this for several years, only to basically have it forced out and have it destroyed and have their reputation slandered and all that stuff. It sucks because what was the last really bad Battlefield? Hardline was garbage, but it was still better than this. And that says a lot. Like, it was in a better
player.
It did.
I mean, it had some cool, I like the whole, you can arrest people and stuff. That was kind of cool. Like, it's a nice little mechanic. I believe that Hardline should have been some kind of a expansion rather than its own game. But I mean, this Battlefield 2042 should not have come out, like you said, as soon as it did.
It was half baked. Yeah.
There's just so many of the things that they could actually change up in that time with like a play test and stuff people could do to just give them good feedback, and free ones, by the way, so people don't have to pay money for it. But they just didn't do it the right way. They just wanted money.
Keep in mind, they did do playtests, but playtests these days, they're only for marketing. They don't actually fix anything from playtests, and I hate it.
True.
They'll do like a quote-unquote beta or quote-unquote alpha, but it's not to actually fix things. That's set in stone. It's essentially to just be like, look at our game, pre-order. Come on, pre-order.
Build the hype, build the hype.
Very quickly, I wanted to talk about the fact that during an interview, Norman Reedus leaked the fact that Death Stranding 2 exists. And Kojima told him to go to his room. Because it doesn't outwardly look like he was upset. It just seems like, well, this was earlier than it wanted to be leaked. And of course, Norman Reedus feels bad about it. But essentially it was, Reedus, he dropped this bomb. He said, it took me maybe 2 or 3 years to finish all the mocap sessions and everything. It takes a lot of work. Then the game came out. It just won all these awards. It was a huge thing. So we started part 2 of that. And he basically was like, oh, crap. I spoiled the fact that Death Stranding exists. Alpha, what's your opinion on Death Stranding? I think we share a very similar opinion on it.
Yeah, I didn't really play it at all. I mean, I watched other people play it, and I'm sure it has its niche market and everything. And, Hideo Kojima is excellent at making games, but Death Stranding wasn't for me. Death Stranding 2 probably also won't be for me. So I'm just gonna, they're making another one good. That's good to know, I guess. I mean, maybe it'll be more eventful.
Engaging?
That's a good word for it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like they did the best they could with a package delivery simulator. I mean, if you were trying to make UPS the game exciting, they did the best you could, right? It wasn't a game for me, and I think the best way to put it is that Kojima's like a lot like M. Night Shyamalan, in the sense that he gets a couple hits and he's very good at some things, but it doesn't mean he's always a savant. It doesn't mean he's always going to be this infallible human being. Both of them have released some bad titles, and for me, Death Stranding was just like a super meh game. I gave it a fair shake, but like there were so many systems where it just seemed tedious and it could have been done better and the game would have been a lot more enjoyable. He liked to call it art, but I don't really understand how playing a walking simulator for several hours at times going in a direction really is considered art. But I guess it's in the eyes of the beholder. Personally, I would have given it like a 5 out of 10 because it was honestly the most average thing I've ever played.
It's such a deep game.
There is deep water in that game. You can drown, so that's a good point. But for me, it wasn't that deep. It was very shallow surface stuff. It was A very interesting plot, ruined and blurred by 900 hours of walking around and building highways.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
yeah, we'll see if number two is better. I will say the World War II scene in the game was really awesome, but the
True,
really
yeah.
awesome things in Death Stranding were few and far between for me. So now, Godfoot, The Last of Us. Did you play the original one?
I did. I had a lot of fun with it. Played it on PS3.
We won't talk about Last of Us 2 and the dumpster fire that was, in my opinion. I still can't believe it won Game of the Year that one year at the Game Awards.
So undeserved.
100% like a complete farce, scam, everything. It absolutely was not the audience favorite. That did not line up with the Metacritic, and I don't understand how it happened. But the good one is getting a full PS5 remake. A remake, like not just
A proper remake, not a
port.
remaster.
Yep.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm excited for it. Godfoot, how many people that you know of have PS5s now? Do you have any friends that have been trying to get one?
Yeah, actually, a lot of them just find them in random areas, like in random shops and stuff. So there's definitely more of my friends who have PlayStation, but they find themselves not using it very much, you know. So I guess more exclusives for it would make it more relevant, I suppose, as your, you know, unless it's your only console, then yeah, you know, that's about what you get. But I really like the original Last of Us. Remake is, you know, I am getting kind of tired of this trend of older games getting remade all the time. Because you already know the story. It's not going to change or anything. It's more so just for like the nostalgia factor. But I liked it, so I'll probably like this one.
Yeah, I think it was fantastic. And if it's actually a full proper remake and everything's redone from the ground up, there might be a lot of extra content. I mean, when you get remakes, you get like the Demon Souls remake, okay, for like PlayStation
Yes.
5. That was a fantastic remake and felt like a completely different game. Everything was in the same relative place, but it still felt like a completely different game, and it was awesome. And it's worth mentioning that these are rumors, and this is according to an industry insider, Tom Henderson, whose claims match information VGC has received in their own insiders. And so it's not officially confirmed by Sony or announced by Sony. It is.
Correct.
It's basically, this sort of stuff is pretty much never wrong, especially considering it comes from insiders and people in the companies. And a lot of these leaks are pretty like always true or intentional. So we'll just have to see if it's a full remake or just a remaster. But I'm excited for it either way. I would like to play through The Last of Us again. And if it could run at 60 FPS and look fucking awesome on PS5, heck yeah. And maybe they'll even port it to PC. That would be great. I would love to play the remake on
Yeah.
Steam. Maybe you could have like
have more
co-op too,
fun
where
with
someone
it.
plays Ellie and you know, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, an actual nice two-player co-op, that'd be great. And also that multiplayer mode they had too. Pretty unique. It was fun.
Yeah, reminded me a
bring that
lot of
back
the
too,
Mass
that'd be
Effect
awesome.
one. Next up, we've got almost pointless gaming news. The fact that the world's first 500 hertz gaming monitor is now a thing that exists. And coming from someone that's used 240 monitors and seen a 360 monitor in person, okay, there's always this thing about, oh, you can't see above X amount. I genuinely cannot tell the difference between a 240 and a 360, let alone a 240 and a 500.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can at that point. I genuinely don't know if it'll make a difference. Nvidia claims this is going to make a significant difference for competitive gamers, but I don't believe it, because at that point you're basically shaving off like what, tenths of a tenth of a tenth of a tenth of a second. And of course Nvidia is going to claim this makes a huge difference because it makes them more money, whether or not it's true. But Godfoot, you got really crazy monitors. You got like 240s, right? What do you feel about going up to 500, buddy?
So there you cannot argue the fact that a jump from 60 to 120 or 144, that's a night and day difference, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
144 to 240, with games that can actually run at that frame rate and you sacrifice the quality and stuff. Pretty great. But I personally have never ever been able to tell a difference between above 240 and anything else above that.
Yep.
I really can't. It all just seems, it's all smooth, yeah, but what game are they running that they can get 500 FPS from? What
Yeah, pretty
game?
much.
CS:GO? CS 1.6? Like what's happening here?
Minecraft.
What's even the point of this? Oh yeah, maybe Minecraft.
It's for
I guess,
Minecraft
without mods.
Hunger Games server player, professional players. That's why this monitor was made.
It just seems so pointless to me.
It
I'm never gonna
is.
get it.
It's just a flex that doesn't even make sense. Also, it's a 24-inch monitor and it's only 1080p, right? Because like at that point, what else? Good luck getting above like 300 FPS on anything other than 1080p. I would have laughed if it was like 840p
Imagine-
or something.
Imagine if they released a 4K monitor just to flex it was 4K, and everyone would just have to play on 1080p because you can't hit that frame rate.
Oh man,
Sadness.
look, I have a 3090. Godfoot has a 3090. We both have insane computers, bro. I can't even get 150 FPS in Call of Duty. Okay, let alone 500 in any meaningful competitive game. So to me, it seems like the same level of stupid flex as that 10K television, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, sure, it exists, but nothing exists that can utilize it. It just doesn't
There
exist.
isn't any media that exists that runs at 10K or is made for 10K. It's just stupid. We haven't even gotten done with 8K yet. Not even 4K. Well, 4K, yeah, for TV, but not for games.
Most people aren't even using 4K yet. It's like less than 15% of the market in like everything. It's just you don't need it. Like 1440 is just now becoming the standard. 10K will never be a thing for like 20 years. Finally, very quickly, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2's release date. If anyone seems to care about that, that will be October 28th. It was announced on their Twitter. They put up a big thing with what's his face Ghost. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they put it up. There's two. They use the M's to make the two. Wow, real fancy. I didn't buy Vanguard. I didn't buy Black Ops Cold War. I haven't played Warzone in over a year. I'm not really caring about Call of Duty anymore. I feel like it got way too samey and way too predatory and way too disrespectful for my time. One of their big selling points with Warzone was that everything would work together, and then they intentionally just started ruining and nerfing and destroying all the guns that were good in the like Modern Warfare. And then they made them all really meta in Cold War. And then when Vanguard came out, they trashed Cold War stuff and made both the Modern Warfare and Cold War guns even worse. And I just was tired of it, man. You put like 100 hours into grinding out guns to be able to play them and think they're going to be good for a while, only to be fucked because they want to sell more skins and stuff in the other games. I'm over it. They haven't innovated in a while. I mean, maybe they'll put something new and innovative and like completely change up Call of Duty in the new game, but I have like no faith.
Well, from what I understand, aren't they releasing a Warzone 2? Which I hope means that they will not integrate any of the previous games into it, because that will be a horrible, horrible mess if they do.
Yep.
I'm hoping that with this fresh start, assuming it will be a fresh start, which I really hope it should be, and it will be. With this fresh start, we can fix this unnecessary meta of newer games. You're being forced to buy newer games or meta weapons and stuff, right? They need to actually like take a really big step back here. And Modern Warfare 2019 as a game was great, in my opinion. I really, really liked it. Cold War, didn't like as much. Campaign was good. Multiplayer was pretty more the same. Vanguard was a shit show. So hopefully they'll give us something that can fill that void that a lot of us have had with the recent releases of Call of Duty. Other for FPSs too.
Yeah.
I mean, they already started incorporating some of Battlefield stuff with Ground War, I think it was, or something like that. Maybe they'll do something better with this one. Maybe the guns won't be horribly unbalanced. Maybe it'll look really good, feel really good, have that same level of quality and animation that 2019 had. Well, to see.
I don't know. I mean, even if like, so here's the thing for me, Godfoot, right? It's just that every game is really the same. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. And because they're releasing annually, you can only do so much to the franchise. And I don't really have a lot of creative hope for it because they straight up they took the same name from the previous game franchise they've already made. They've made Modern Warfare 1 and 2 already, and they're just basically remaking 2 in a fancier way. There's not a lot of creative freedom to go with that. And because they're stuck on an annual release cycle, having like a year or two less than they normally would to develop these games, which Microsoft's putting an end to, by the way. They basically said there will no longer be annual release. It may not be following the acquisition. it's still just
Uh-huh.
not enough time to innovate, man. There's a reason why the engine's copy pasted, all the animations are copy pasted, you know, a lot of the assets are
Well, they
copy
have several
pasted.
studios doing it because you can't if they
Yep.
were to just do the exact same thing every year like that, like, what if Cold War had MW's engine? They're just different guns.
Yep.
That would be insulting, right? So they
Yep.
have to have other studios work on it. This time it's Infinity Ward again, so, you know,
But even still, it's too short of a dev cycle time, right?
it is way too short of
It's
dev
like
time.
every other
It's
year
I
for
think
these
they're
games with
trying to
these
make yeah,
companies. Yeah.
2 years is not enough to make
No, and it's not. And that's
good
why
quality
they
games.
feel so samey most of the time, because it's just you can't really afford to redo stuff from the ground up when you just have such a crunch time to make a full game. Um and I don't know. I'm not very faithful, or I don't have a lot of faith, I guess is the best way to put it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see, but that's going to be it for the news today. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked the news or got any information you wanted to know, hit the like button as well. Please, as I always ask, discuss all this stuff in the comments down below. If you have anything you want to, counterpoint us on, if there's anything we missed that you want to let everybody know about, just talk in the comments. And again, if you liked the video, hit the like button. If you like these videos, if you watch the channel consistently, why don't you sub? Takes no effort. Just click the little subscriber button, click the little bell to let you know when we post videos, which is usually 2 to 3 videos a week, usually 3 videos a week on average at this point. But yeah, news every Wednesday, always. And then, Godfoot, what do you want to say to the people before we go?
Thank you all for watching. Once again, I always look forward to reading your comments and replying to them. Yeah, just really appreciate you guys' support.
He loves you.
Liking the news helps a lot. Love you all.
All right. See you, everybody. Bye.
Bye.